Hello everyone, this is Bob Ryan from the Shed app, here to talk about the enhanced reporting capabilities we've added to our sales analytics reports. This update allows you to drill down into order details for better forecasting and trend spotting with the new Order Details report. We've also updated the sales cycle and unique quote charts to provide more controls over how your data is presented. Let's get started by clicking on Reports and then Sales Analytics. Keep in mind that we're using simulated data for this review, and for the current time period there is no data available to show. I'm going to change the selected time period by clicking here and selecting this year. Then I'll click here to change the From time period to 2021. Next, I'll click here to change the Compared to time period to 2020. You'll notice that, similar to the updated dashboard, these time periods affect all of the charts on the page. Let's take a look at some of the functionality that we've added to this page. Again, similar to the dashboard, we can manage the charts that are displayed on this page by clicking here, and then determine which ones are visible by clicking on this icon to turn them on or off. You can also drag and drop the charts to reorder them to your own preferred layout. I'll close this customization window. And once again, similar to the dashboard, we can modify the color palette for these charts by clicking the color palette icon on the right. I'll close this window as well. As you can see, we've updated both the sales cycle and the quotes charts, and have added a third chart that we're calling the Order Detail chart. These charts have all the functionality of our other recently updated charts, with the ability to turn series on and off by clicking in the legend, and exporting the chart, if we wish, in any of these formats. Also, we can add or organize views for each chart by clicking on this icon here. These various views appear as tabs on each chart. For example, on the Order Detail chart, we have default views for order types, product types, and purchase methods. Let's choose the Order Type tab. We'll look at some of the insights that are available on this new chart by clicking here to modify the chart configuration. First, we'll look at the x-axis. The setting for the x-axis can be used to group the displayed data. For example, as you can see, the chart currently shows the count of the order IDs on the y-axis. The setting on the x-axis right now is grouped by order type. This data shows that there were 370 sales orders in 2020 and 26 inventory request orders in 2020. Now, if I select Building Model Category for the x-axis, then the count of the order IDs will be grouped by Building Model Category. And I can see that there were 120 orders that had a backyard shed in 2020 and 93 orders that had a backyard lean-to. Let's change the x-axis to Building Models. This groups the count of the order IDs by building model. As you can see, there were a lot of building models in 2020, but the most popular building model for that year was the 10 by 12 backyard shed, which was found on 19 orders. I can refine the data by clicking down here on the filters. I'm going to select the Building Model Category filter, and then further refine the search by selecting only the backyard shed category as the filter value. Now, looking only at the backyard shed models, I can see that the two most popular sizes in 2020 were the 10 by 12 and the 8 by 12 backyard sheds. I can also choose to reverse the sorting of the data by clicking here on this icon. This is a good example of the kinds of detailed insight you and your team can gain with these new charts, so you can make better informed decisions from your historical data. As another example, let's say that I wanted to know what the most popular colors were for 2020. I can select Building Option Color from my X-axis. Now I still have the Y-axis being sorted in ascending order, so let's change that back to descending order. Also, I still have the Backyard Shed Building Model category selected, so let's remove that filter. Let's say I'm only interested in seeing the stats for the siding color. I will select the Building Option category as a filter, and then the Siding Option category for my filter value. This shows me that the Latte siding color was the most popular siding color in 2020. I can refine this even further by selecting the Created by Guest filter. And then selecting Yes for my filter value. Now I can see that the most popular siding color for orders created by guest users was a custom paint color, which was used 15 times in 2020. Okay, so let's say we're needing to order windows for next year's production, and I want to know which windows are the most popular. First, I'm going to opt to group my data by Building Option category here on the X-axis. Then I want to see the number of times each option was used, so I'm going to select Building Option for the Y-axis. And then select Count and Quantity for the Y-axis. At this point, we're still seeing the data filtered for siding and created by guest, so let's remove those filters. Looking at the data now, I can see that the most popular building option category was the discount, which was used about 75,000 times in 2020. That's equivalent to $75,000 because of how the option is set up in my catalog. But I want to see the most popular windows, so I'm going to continue to configure the chart by selecting the Building Option category filter and selecting Window for the filter value. This shows me that 490 windows were used in 2020. I'm going to change the X-axis now to Building Option. And here we have it, a list of the windows that were used on orders in 2020. I can see that the most popular that year was the 24 by 36 white aluminum, and that 164 of them were used in buildings. So you can see that this chart is very powerful, giving you lots of ways to look at your data. Take some time to experiment and find your favorite configurations. For now, I'm going to close this. And if I wanted to, I could save this configuration as a new view by clicking here, or update the current view by clicking here. Let's check out the changes that have been made to the other charts on this page. The sales cycle chart has been updated to reflect the actual contact-relevant data. For example, the prior sales cycle charts had been based on the orders when they were processed. Now the sales cycle is calculated as being from the day that a contact is created to the date of the first processed order for this contact. Looking at the data, you can see that there's a wide variance from a maximum sales cycle of 852 days to a minimum of 1 day. The average is 47.97 days. Given the variability, the median value of 12 days is probably the best value to use for sales cycle. If I need to, I can configure this chart to refine the data. Again, using the X-axis to group the data, I can group the sales cycle by salesperson by selecting Became Customer Salesperson. Then, I'll change the Y-axis to reflect the average sales cycle. Now we can check for patterns. Maybe some salespeople or stores have a consistently shorter sales cycle, and we can figure out a way to leverage that. Again, there are a lot of options and powerful ways to refine the data and gain insights. Let's close this and take a look at the last chart on the page, the quote chart. The quote chart is used to examine unique quotes. which can be an indicator of salesperson and/or store activity, as well as a proxy for connection and qualification rate, and a leading indicator for sales close rate. Keep in mind that quotes may or may not eventually turn into sales, and this chart is being used to provide insights into this early sales funnel activity. Let's take a look at the configuration options for this chart. Similar to the other charts, the x-axis parameter can be used to group the data that I'm looking at, and I have a lot of options here. The service provider on an order is the company that fulfills the order. For your orders, that will always be your company. We can also group the quotes by contract provider, which would be the RTO company, or the financing provider, which is the finance company on an order. For now, I'll select to group the data by Created by Guest to see how the unique quotes break down. What I see is that in 2020, we had 2,140 unique quotes created by guest users and 899 not created by guest users. There are also several parameters available for the y-axis, but the Bill To parameter offers a count that is unique. This is to ensure that the data being presented is only counting each unique Bill To for the selected time period. This is what makes the presented data unique quotes. And of course, down here at the bottom, we provide multiple ways to filter the presented data. Before we end this preview, I'd like to encourage you to experiment and take the time to understand what it is you're looking at in given charts. Again, these tools are very versatile, and the flexibility and insights they can provide are very powerful. There are some cases that can present a conflict, and before we end the video, I'd like to show you what happens in a data conflict. I'll close this and click back up here on the Order Detail chart configuration. To set up the conflict, I'm going to opt to select to group the data by building option category on the x-axis, and then select to show the order option count on the y-axis. As you can see, the chart indicates that the data cannot be shown because order options cannot be grouped by building option category. So that completes this update. We trust that these improvements to the sales analysis report will help you to make better informed decisions, save you more time, and boost your shed company's profitability. And we'll see you next time with more simplified shed stuff.